Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of Sphere of Being, which I know I tell everybody every week, but it's so easy to forget. Let's put our oxygen masks on first. Let's make sure that we are at the top of our game, that we have the energy, the foresight, the creativity to be able to really bring that about with others that we meet within our businesses, our ecosystems, and indeed our families and loved ones as well. And when we're thinking about caring in business, there is this whole issue and concept that we're talking around sustainability. That everybody's saying, how do we go green? It can be a bit scary. It is obviously involving change. But at the end of the day, it's not it will be nice to have. It is a must have. This is going to happen. And every week I try and bring forward a guest who's got absolutely at the top of their game, that they are expert in their subject matter and that they are walking the talk. They're not just saying things, they're actually getting involved, rolling their sleeves up, getting their hands dirty with their clients and actually helping them achieve the goals that they've set for sustainability and being green. And today is no exception. I have the most amazing gentleman. He's based in the Northwest, but the companies that he have national reach. Mick Seddon, he is the founder of Green Accountants, absolutely turning people's boring view of accountants on its head. It is just a fantastic, fantastic service that he's offering through that business. And also, he's the co-founder of the Sustainability Suite, which helps small to medium-sized enterprises scale up in a way which is going to be sustainable for the future as well. And his absolute mission is to help these small to medium-sized enterprises to be green, enjoy the process, be creative, innovative on a sustainable basis. So, welcome, Mick. It's wonderful to have you on the Sphere of Being podcast.
Thank you, Deborah. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's a real pleasure because it's such a worthy cause. And we can all do our bit. And sometimes I'd like you to think, what kind of issues and problems are your particular clients facing, and why do they bring you in?
I think the history of my work is that I've got involved with businesses from when I first set up in business on my own as an accountant, and I realized that despite almost being prepared from birth to be an accountant and having the personality for it, I realized that when I set up that I'd had no business training. And the feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach when you think, oh, what have I done here? Is perhaps the worst moment, but also the best moment in your career as an accountant, because you get to understand what it's like for all the people that set up in business and what it's like for them and what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night worrying about your business. And when you understand that, I think you're in a much better place to offer advice because you're starting off from the same place. You've been through it and you know what what it'd be like to have some help and support. So hopefully that answers the question of the background and why I do it. Going on, as we look at businesses, one of the things that I've enjoyed doing is to look forward rather than just back on the compliance work and to talk to business owners about their plans. And I think if you look forward now, 3 or 5 years, and you don't consider climate change and AI, of course. But if you don't consider climate change and everything that's happening, then there's every chance that the business plan won't stand the test of time because things are going to be so different. The whole way of operations in the market, even though we might not be seeing extreme weather in the UK, or not as much as other places. Of course, we're not going to be affected as other places. We have a reasonable climate, and that's going to continue, although it's going to get more uncomfortable. And we see a lot of that happening. But people, I think, find it too easy to dismiss climate change on the basis, well, where I live in the Manchester area, it perhaps just rains a bit more. We'd hardly notice because it's business as usual. It's wet. So that it's a challenge that we often come across is, well, climate isn't changing here for me, so why should I do anything? And so that's one of the questions that we're addressing as the Green Accountants and Sustainability Suite. It's all about working out how you might be affected by, if you like, this movement, the climate change movement, and what you're going to do about it. And as well as, I think it's the boring stuff and being given a list of things to do. What we try to do is make it exciting because for the first time, perhaps since the invent of the internet, and before that, the invent of computers, we've now got a real change in the marketplace. Everything is going to be different because your customers are going to want a different approach from you. And so you're going to have to be geared up to understand their way of thinking. Legislation changes, and that'll be forced on you. So we work with businesses to get a plan that is likely to be resilient, more likely to be resilient than doing nothing, and to be aware of what's going on in the marketplace. Because for that first time in a long time since computers, you've now got a market where you can be different. And so we'll try to help businesses be different.
This is, I hear future proofing from what you're saying as well within that
Yeah.
business.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
thinking about this future proofing, I'd like you to delve into, for the listeners, what is happening within local authorities, the NHS, as far as the people that they are going to be approving on their approved supplier list, approved vendor lists, where the criteria is within your remit, you know, you've got to have things in place, otherwise you're not even going to get on the list. Could you delve into that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the public sector, let's start with that, is is subject to what is known as PPN, normally followed by a month and a year. So the main one here is PPN 0621, which is PPN stands for Public Procurement Notice. And this is to help people in the public sector to work out who's going to be a supplier. And to be on that supply chain or the framework agreements, whatever it's called, you have to comply with whatever the organization that you're looking to tender to, whatever they set as their standards. And increasingly, that's the PPN system. The 21 version, 2021, set out the basic standards with an upgrade in 24 that makes it even tougher. What does it make it tougher on? Well, they ask now two questions. Does your business have a carbon reduction plan? And the answers are yes or no. There isn't a I'm thinking about it or I'm unsure. You have one or you don't have one. And the consequences are quite simple: pass and fail. Again, there is no messing around on that. And the second question that's increasingly being seen now because of the update in 24 is and have you assessed your suppliers, your principal suppliers, to make sure that you're not just simply passing your carbon footprint down the line, but also that you're taking a responsible attitude as a business. And you're required to provide evidence in most cases of this. So, okay, what have you done? There's a requirement to put your carbon reduction plan on your website. And both of those questions, have you got a carbon reduction plan yourself? And what have you done to your suppliers, to review your suppliers, come up with the same yes, no, pass, fail? So the government side, local and national government, is all about that now, which is great because it's encouraging change. And sometimes in business, we have other things to do. I'm sure if any of your listeners or viewers are in business, they'll be thinking, yeah, I'm busy. But compliance now is the only way forward. So whether you like it or not, whether you believe in climate change or not, you're going to have to move on this. And you probably need some help because you are busy, you don't understand all the issues, and that's what we look to do. The NHS is a great example of an organization that is leading the way. They have this evergreen program. You have to submit your bid and deal with the questions. You have to put all that online. But businesses who think, well, I don't work for the NHS, may well find that they work for somebody who does. So you're caught in the supply chain. And that secondary question, why, and you wonder, why am I being assessed? I don't work for the NHS, but no, you're going to be caught because we're working down supply chains. And it's, in a way, it's a great opportunity rather than just legislate direct and say legislation says you must have a carbon reduction plan. The government are taking the view that let's do this through economics because businesses are more likely to respond to economics and will drive change quicker. And I think that's great that they've swerved away from legislation, always a vote loser, hardly a vote winner. But now we have to do it if we want to stay on those contracts. And I think as companies adopt that stance, that okay, I'm going to review my supply chain. It goes beyond just simply for the NHS contracts because they'll take that into their private sector work because it's company wide. And once you understand the issues with sustainability and climate change, I don't think you can go back. I think you have to say, okay, well, my business now, I'm going to future proof it and I'm going to do all these things and put them in place quite naturally. And that's what we do with a lot of businesses, especially in the SME space, sorry, because SMEs are the people that are now just starting to be impacted. But that's where all the opportunities lie when the market is changing. So hopefully that answered a lot of your questions or a lot of points in your questions, and you can see why it's so important to be proactive and take advantage of the opportunities now.
Yes, I think this is something which, change is going to happen whether we like it or not. And part of this podcast is to help people to de-stress, to decompress, to get plans in place so that before where we were anxious, it's keeping us up at night. We are then obviously showing up for our work like this, and as leaders, how we show up impacts so many other people, and our home lives can suffer. And when it all starts to build up, then we have a catalyst, which in my case was a nervous breakthrough. But ultimately, I'm here through lived experience with this podcast to help people to say there is another way and we can get there before everything falls apart. And I think that what I would like to go into now is if somebody's thinking, well, it's just so enormous, this is just a tangled mess, where do I start? What do you do within the sustainability suite and also at Green Accountants to actually help people get through that first initial, this is too much insurmountable almost, and work through to an outcome where things are working on a process driven basis?
Yeah, I you say that a lot. If you Google sustainability and climate change, wow, you would just be absolutely overwhelmed. So we've tried to make it a lot easier for the business owners so that it's manageable and not overwhelming. You can do something about it because it's those bite-sized chunks. So we did this within our own practice, working with the first few clients, and then what we did was we put that in from the green accountants into the sustainability suite, so other accountants could do it with their clients, because that way we get the leverage of the whole of the accounting industry. It's our time to rise, and let's hope accountants meet the challenge because we claim to be the trusted advisors. We're perhaps not always, and there are time constraints and the compliance work and everything else. But we think that by leveraging the industry, that will help. And as we created Sustainability Suite, what we recognized was that we've got to break it down into those manageable chunks so that the advisors can work with businesses. And we have two questions that we break it down into. How am I going to be affected, or how's my business going to be affected? And what am I going to do about it? And we take people through this nice step by step process of firstly some education, and we do it under six headings in our case. So number one might be legislation, and then what are the opportunities? That's another thing. We consider the employees and the impact on those. And it's when we look at the opportunities that most of the business owners I see change from this is an insurmountable problem into this is an opportunity to be different. It's that USP. Marketing people talk about USPs, and if you're a normal person, a non-marketer, you think, "What's that?" And then when somebody tells you what the definition is, you think, "Okay, well, how am I different? What's unique about me?" And so having the opportunity to break that down is it's revolutionary. It really can lift the burden that people are carrying when they're thinking, how am I going to deal with climate change when I've got all these other things to do? And the government throws things on me, and then my customers do things, and then my team do things. So yeah, it's making it manageable, relieving the stress so that people can process it. And I think that is so important when you're talking about the state of mind. But even people are now excited, and there'll be people that are watching this thinking, "Yes, that was me." Guys who said, "Climate change, it's not real," and well, it is, but it's going to be too much. And then you break it down, and eventually, when they see the light, I can now deal with this, and I'm excited. And instead of the bird, you get a huge hike from the fact that we are now doing the right thing, will appeal to a lot more people, and we won't be thrown off tender lists and framework agreements. Because that's the downside. And I hear those stories because of the people I talk to all the time. Somebody's always wanting to tell me now, yes, that company lost work because they didn't do anything. They didn't have the carbon reduction plan, and they didn't think it was going to be important and affect them. And then goodbye, you're on your way. So I hear loads of those things. And so the people that have taken the first steps, and we do it as a step by step approach, they really benefit in the long term. And you can see that sense of relief. And then the sense of excitement is brilliant. As an accountant, who'd have thought that you're making people, emotionally reactive? It's fantastic.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast because you absolutely inspired me when I saw your profile on LinkedIn because I thought this is something different. And as you've mentioned, it's this key differentiator which can make all the difference when we're getting ourselves head and shoulders above our competitors. And let's face it, to be in business on a long-term basis, we have to be good at what we do. And there's a lot of people out there who are good at what they do in the same sector that we're in. And it just takes a few little incremental changes, or in some ways working through this to actually be head and shoulders above the good, the sea of good, and all of a sudden be seen as a beacon. And that then has its own amazing benefits moving forward. How do people make sure that once they're on board with yourselves, is it a you come in, you swoop in, you sort it all out, and then you're off again? Or how does that relationship then move from, let's say, changes in regulation? How does it happen with the fact that people come up again, creative ideas from internally? What is the relationship that they have with the sustainability suite and green accountants?
Okay, so let's take it from the point of view somebody that's got an SME, small and medium sized enterprise. I'm assuming most people know the SME definition. And you're either an existing client or you're somebody that's heard about you and what you're doing. And we get a lot of that because people want to know. I mean, they may even be going down their own supply chain and say, well, who's got a carbon reduction plan on our supply chain? Well, the accountants know. So let's find somebody that does. And we have that, which is fantastic evidence that it's real and it's happening. You don't have to do a whole lot. Obviously, we have done a whole lot, but people will come to us. So, first stage we would consider now is whether they're comfortable understanding everything that's going on, and if they've any doubts, but we'd recommend you do it anyway. Do the carbon literacy. Get certified, and this is through the Carbon Literacy Project. We've written a course, we've written two courses, one for other accountants, so it's carbon literacy for accountants, and the second one, carbon literacy for SME owners and managers. And that's the one I think that the emotion that you generate on that, the people that you can make cry. It's I shouldn't laugh, but it's
You want to make
you
people
know
cry, but I know what that is. I know it's transformational. I have this when I speak to people on the podcast after we've done it, and sometimes there's tears because it's been so emotionally uplifting. Yeah, in a good way.
yes.
Tears in a good way.
Yeah. I did a podcast 2 weeks ago where somebody had been on the course said I was crying for 5 minutes and trying not to show it after we one of the things that we do on the Carbon Literacy Project. But you get certified by the Carbon Literacy Project, so it's kind of official, and well over 100,000 people have not now done that. Manchester Council and said they want to put 15% of the citizens of Manchester through, so that'd be another 85,000 people. So there are big steps with that. Organisations like the BBC are saying every one of our team needs to be carbon literate so we can understand it. So that's where we start the journey, understanding the issues, causes, what you can do about it. And then we start to apply that to the business itself with those questions. How will we in our business be affected? And and then the next stage of what are we going to do about it? So we work with them and suggest some things that we think are likely to work. And it's quite often it's just the basics. It's well, let's measure the carbon footprint. Let's look at some easy actions to get us going. Where do we work? What's our commute like? And it's then the most important thing because we do three A's: assess, act, and articulate. And I think that the third one, the third A, articulate, is the biggest difference from between what we do and somebody who just gives you carbon footprint advice. Where that advice is, here are 10 things you can do, see which one, as a business generalist, so changing light bulbs, look at your power supply and everything like that. But it's only when a business understands the benefits of taking action and getting a return on investment that they are now enthusiastic to do it. Otherwise, it's here's another list of things I've got to do. And if you're in an SME as a founder or owner or a manager, that's the last thing you need, another to-do list. But if you can see the opportunities because you've let me pause there because one of the things we do is we ask, what have you done so far? Because that helps to tell the story. And the fewest number of things that a business has been able to name has been six. So with all the companies that we've worked with, six is the record low. And you just find that people have forgotten what they've done. So we take those steps, we look at what they can do going forward. It goes into an easy action plan. And it is now the third A, which is let's tell the story. Let's say what we've already done. Let's say what we're going to do in the future, and then we have to start acting on that. And we will quite often we get drawn into this because of the work with business strategy, where we help to make sure that it's happening. So month after month, in some cases week after week, we'll be there until the momentum is built up, and then the business can feel okay. I don't need to do a monthly meeting. I'm on top of this. I understand it now. And that's where we also get other accountants to get involved with their clients because we can't, as much as I'd love to, we can't look after every SME in the country. That's
Oh
why
no.
we're giving. That's why
Oh,
the wake up call for accountants.
heartbroken.
So yeah, it's that guiding people through the process until you've built up sufficient momentum. And it's actually the things that accountants are always saying they want to do. They want to be closer to their clients and understand them. And this is such an opportunity for them as well, so that they don't have that worry or that dependency on compliance work, which is disappearing because AI is taking over so much of it, and you can file things directly with HMRC, and all the checks are in place. AI is probably better reviewing documents than accountants are because AI
Steady,
doesn't get
steady.
bothered by the phone going. So but it's true, and that's why for accountants it makes perfect sense to get involved in this. So we take in businesses on that journey. We're looking at things month by month, which can include the accounting information. Because then we can remember, actually, we do numbers as well, financial numbers, not just numbers of trees counted or other things that you've done to make an impact. And I say trees planted, there are a whole host of things. It's just that's a nice, simple example. And then at the end of the year, there's more work for the accountants and I guess more handholding, particularly the first time that you do it, when we create the impact assessment, which is if you like, it's the annual financial statement of your climate change response, your sustainability efforts. And I think for a lot of businesses, as you get to be a nicer business in terms of your attitude to everybody around you, you then extend into ESG as a whole. So ESG, the environment, which is what we're doing in our work, the social side of your business and the governance, the way that you manage your business. And so I find that that's a natural extension. It's done at the 12-month stage, give or take a month or two, so that you can reflect back on the things that you've achieved. And that's pretty decent. And one of the things I love is we as a team, we do an annual walk, we do litter picking on the way, we go up a hill and hopefully see the views. But so far, 100% record. It's been raining, the clouds are down, and we can see about 20 yards. And I have to describe the view to the team, which is a fantastic view in summer, where you can just about see the sea, and you can see all the hills around here, the Pennines and Cheshire, the Peak District, Lake District. All of that you can see, except when we go on our walk.
When you go, because it's pouring with rain. Yes, and I know those
But
days
then,
in those parts, and it's just like it's there, I just can't see it.
yeah, but still some good photographs, and people are enjoying themselves, and the dogs come, and so it's a great experience to get everybody together because, of course, we spend so much time working from home or working from wherever, which is the phrase that we use, work from wherever, so that people are comfortable and they can be at home, they can come into the office, they can do other workspaces, and so I think that helps that you're not putting pressure on people to always work somewhere. And if somebody
Yeah.
says,
Mm.
"Can I'm going visiting friends, family, my parents, I'm going to, can I work? Can I work in Wales?" Yeah, of course you can, because
You won't see
how
anything
do
that's
I
from
know?
rain, but yeah, you can work in Wales. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, I love this holistic view that, and I'm going to touch now on the fact of people going into the workforce from a recruitment perspective, and now how people are not looking just at you go into work for your eight whatever hours a day, 5 days or 6 days a week. You're spending time away. They don't want the paradigm of that whole thing, but people are also looking at the way in which companies do business, their ethics and their values behind what it is that they do. That's becoming far more important for people when they work with companies to say yes or no to the job offer. What would you say that this whole sustainability piece and this green ethos does to help people get the very best people when they're looking to recruit?
I think it's really important. There was a time when I questioned it because I'd seen so many studies quoted where people say you're 70% more likely to work for a green organization. And as I used to do talks to everybody, I said, let me just check in case anybody's, can prove that. Has anybody come to your firm because of your green credentials? And I struggled. And then after a bit, I thought, you got to shut up here now, Mick, because you're talking rubbish. And when I started to do the numbers, we got up to 5 people, and 4 of the 5, the last 5 people to join the team, had come to us because of our greenness, if you, for want of a better expression. And now we're up to 8 out of 10. Okay, we've had
Wow.
2 people that have moved on for health and other issues, for relationship issues, but increasingly the core of our team, uh, carbon literate and enthusiastic, and we now in the last 3 weeks, we've had 2 people approach us, 2 students who've said, I've seen what you're doing, I've heard about this. Can I come for some work experience? And what one of our colleagues sent that message to last night for the latest one, who said, look at this, somebody's found us on TikTok. This is what I've said. And she was buzzing from it, that people are now being attracted and want to spend time with us. The first of the 2 cases I mentioned has already done 2 days work experience back from university, and the enthusiasm for everything that we're doing is fantastic. So you get a real buzz for that. That people are attracted, and when you consider what the recruitment agencies charge, of course they're good value. In case you're out there listening, to pay that to try and find people who you don't often get somebody who says from a recruitment agency they've normally gone out to the whole market. and there's very little on green or ESG or any mention of some of those key buzzwords, then you're not going to find people who are consistent with your ethos and your ethics. So people who are now attracted to you and you save the recruitment fees and they're a lot more passionate about the ongoing story than their belief system, they're more enthusiastic as they come to work because they can see they're on a mission. So that's
Yes,
fantastic.
I love this. And the fact is as well, this is how we got together. I saw you
Yes.
on LinkedIn, literally blew me away. The green accountants love the concept. And what I'd say to people here, I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but you're echoing exactly, just as a case study, how this all came about, is I approached Mick and actually wrote to him on LinkedIn, asked to be connected for the one reason only that what you were doing within sustainability and the fact that you were green accountants completely resonated with me. And I thought how ideal that would be to have you on as on the podcast, telling people SMEs regionally and nationally what difference and what benefits this whole movement being a part of this purpose can be. So this didn't happen by just accident. This was purely because I saw that from Mick's profile. So this is the power. And also, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this promotion about the differentiator. Do you think businesses are making enough out there? Are they shouting out enough to elevate themselves in their social media, in the marketing that they do, about the way in which they're going on this green journey?
I see some great examples of organizations that are. Some of the B Corps, and we are B Corp, and get that in. And we also have the ESG mark. So it's not just one organization that's verified us, it's two. And we, even I would say ourselves, we're still not doing enough to promote this message. And it would be great if accountants could just come on board and say, do you know what, this makes perfect sense to me. And it does make perfect sense. But accountants are busy people, which I guess a lot of people will know when they try to make an appointment or trying to get through to somebody. So no, I on the whole, on average, no, we're not doing enough. But I think that's consistent with the level of progress that has been achieved. And for SMEs, we're kind of cushioned from the bigger impacts, but it's going to happen. There are times when I've thought, have we started this journey and it's way too early and we're leading? And then I think, actually, no, because I know it will happen. And I can give examples of a simple example that our prime minister was at the latest COP29, and what he did was he actually, first of all, he strengthened our view that we were going to do it and we were going to be a leading country. So politics aside, this is what I wanted to hear. And so we've now got these renewed targets for about 10 years' time, 2035, where we're looking at four-fifths reduction in our carbon footprint as a nation, and the 2030 initiatives to be 100% clean power. So it is happening on that side. If I step back and say, as much as I'm enthusiastic about this whole movement and that it's happening, I also look at the important reasons for me, and I know that this resonates with a lot of people out there, but we don't always tell this part of the story. So, as well as it being an absolutely great thing to do in business, it's also the right thing for the planet. I just use business as a leverage for action on the planet. But when we started looking ahead, I was talking to my daughter who worked with us at the time about this business advice and plan going forward, and she was all for it, and she was leading the way. Not long after that, she did say actually, all of these things bother me that I can't see that I'd be comfortable bringing a child into our way of life and onto the planet the way that it's going, because I just see this getting so bad. So that climate anxiety was very real. And as I talk to people, that's not an isolated case. And increasingly, there are people of my age, so approaching 60, who are telling the same story. And they said, yes, that's what I've heard. And how do you feel about that? And people say, actually, it's a bit of a relief. I'm not as upset as I thought I would be because I fully understand it and I don't like the way this is going unless we can do something about it. I say my daughter used to work with me. At the end of COVID, she left to join the army, went off to Sandhurst and joined the Royal Engineers because one of the things that was important to her was that if this happens, it's traditionally the army that get dumped with the big challenges. And so the humanitarian aid and relief. And so she's working in temperature extremes, heat, and just coming back from an exercise in the snow. And and she's put everything on the line because that's what happens when you join the army. And so if I just seem like I'm enjoying this too much, it's because at the heart of it there's a very serious personal story, and I'm not alone in that. So I won't stop on this journey because how could I when my daughter's doing that?
Ah, this is just so beautiful. Thank you for sharing this beautiful, transparent, wonderful gift that your daughter's giving to everybody. And the fact is that I hope everybody can hear this. Mick, you live and breathe this. This comes from your soul. This is from your heart. This is embodied within you as a passion and a mission. And I think it just makes you the most wonderful person to talk with in this space because you have the heart, you have the mindset, you know that it actually doesn't take that much effort to get on the right side of this, to build the groundswell, to have this purpose that we should all be proud of, that we've made a difference, and that we can shout about that and let others know, and then they can get involved in the movement. It's not all about, look at us, aren't we amazing? It's about, look at us, look what we're able to do. And you can do this too. You can come along and be a part of this. And once we get that groundswell, then off we go, off we go to the races because it's that momentum that builds momentum, which builds momentum. And you are so beautifully ahead of the curve. This is the great thing. There will be lots of imitators, but you are the real deal. You are the original. And it's just wonderful to see how you're going into these wonderful SMEs that know that they have to change, might not be there with the hearts and minds immediately, but then once you take them through the process and they can see this, as you said, the transformation is just wonderful. And then we're attracting the people to us that actually are going to be the future proofing people that we want in our business and the people with those mindsets and that heart space to actually think, right, how can we do this for the benefit of all the added value and also make it commercial sense for us moving forward as well? I think it's a truly wonderful model that you're bringing out there. And the more people that get to hear about this message, the more of the groundswell, it would just be fantastic. So, Mick, how can people get hold of you?
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn, which is great because you can see what I looked like 5 years ago, and and yeah, so as Mick Seddon, or my email is mick@bighandgroup.com, or you can look at the websites for Sustainability Suite or the Green Accountants.
Hi, wonderful. And everybody, it'll also be on the show notes as well. So don't worry if you haven't quite got the pen and paper to hand at that time, but or just rewind and have another listen. Before we close, I just wondered, Mick, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us that would help perhaps somebody that's on the edge thinking, shouldn't I contact you? What would you say to those people?
Okay, I'll use the phrase I coined some years ago when we started this. There are three types of business. There are those that are born green, those that are going green, and those that are going bust. And it might be a simplification, but if you want to take the chance of not doing anything, then there's every chance you will be in the going bust category. Because even if you could switch off climate change, and I don't think there's an off button anywhere, and this is unprecedented, that I think you have to make the move and do the right thing and go greener. So, yeah, don't wait because you're going to have to do this anyway if you're going to survive in business. It's a bit like when the internet was invented and websites, not everybody bothered at first. Eventually, we all caught on and it's an essential. So, we'll be dealing with the issue of climate change and how it's going to affect your business. And if you can go early, you've got a chance to make the most of the opportunities and to be ahead of your competition Or you can wait, and you can wait until your competition has done all this and see if you're still around. And if you think, that'll never happen, what's he talking about websites and the internet for? That will never happen. But you just think about some of the big names that we've lost on the high street. Woolworths. I mean, there'll be a lot of people who don't even remember Woolworths now. Woolworths and Debenhams, and all those others that have disappeared. Why? Because they hung on. So don't be a Woolworths. Don't be a Debenhams. Just do it.
Here, here. Yeah, take action. Just do it. A quick call with Mick can absolutely just change everything in a heartbeat. At least you know where you stand. So take up the opportunity because it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I know because I've had a chat with him before and it's just brilliant. So yeah, you're in safe hands. Big hand, safe hands. I can see that on your in your
Yeah.
screen.
And
So
I think it's sorry if I could
yeah,
just
yeah.
add that you say about the contact. I think because I can't look after 5.5 million SMEs personally, what I think we should do is, if, as a first step, just go to your accountant and say, "Listen, what do you know about climate change and carbon reduction plan?" If the answer is not very much from the accountant, get your accountant to get in touch, because
Yeah.
this is a solution for them, and we want to wake up the profession. So it'd be really important. And I think we'd rather work with the accountants so that they can provide the local support and they understand what's going on with your business if you're in an SME. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Wise words, wise words.
wake them up. Yeah.
Wait there. And you're right. Often we don't hear from them until the bill at the end, and you think, hang on a minute. Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, you were
Oh,
too
I
busy to
changed
talk
an
to me, but
accountant
I got the
because of
bill.
that. I changed an accountant because I just thought, really? Oh, okay. I don't run my business like that, and I don't expect to be treated like that. So, yeah, absolutely, completely agree with you. Mick, what a pleasure. It's been inspirational. You've shown
Thank
us
you.
some wonderful insights, some great positivity that can be, as I say, quite challenging for people. Where do I start? And you've really helped us guide that through. Thank you so much for being such an amazing special guest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak
And
then.
everybody listening, be in touch with Mick. You're in for a laugh anyway. He's a good guy. He's all right. You'll have a nice coffee and a chat with him, or even if, over online, of course, because we want to be green. And as always, thank you so much for listening. If this has resonated, which I hope it has, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as I say, that share thing, if you want to share, it might be that you think, you know what, this could be the little taster that somebody would just want to take action with. Perhaps you thought if I say it anymore, they're just going to go stop banging your drum. This could be something that could actually make somebody's business transform. So do share the episode. Thank you for your support. It's always just so wonderful to give this gift to everybody and hope that it's been very valuable for you. So until next time, carry on caring, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye now.